Good morning, everyone. This is Mario Hardy,
Good
aka
morning.
DJ Ragtop, and this is Tish. Go ahead, Tish. Hello.
Good morning. This is Tisha Joyner.
And today we're going to kind of like a part two for what we had discussed last week. Um, well, what was it like that last week, week before last?
Yeah, two
And
weeks ago.
pretty much we had a lot of people who asked a lot of questions in reference to planning and some of the things on the costs and I guess how to save money and things of that nature. So we had a lot of different questions, and we're going to try to cover that during this show. One of the first things I want to start off with is everyone knows this is the first month of the year, and Tish, what do you think? Isn't this probably the primary month where a lot of people start to put things in place for weddings and things that are taking place for the rest of the year? Would you
It
agree with that?
is. It is. I would agree. A lot of times, because it's right after the holidays of Thanksgiving and Christmas, we start getting a bunch of phone calls during the month of January, and then the only other time there's a super increase is right after Valentine's.
Because technically Valentine's is the month where, or I should say, the day where everybody proposes to everybody. Because think about it, proposals normally happen during Christmas time, during the holidays,
Hmm.
and the big day, of course, is Valentine's Day. So those are real big days that a lot of people get like proposed to, and so then come the month of January, I would say January, February, March, April is when we get the most requests for services.
That's correct.
So we're going to cover some of those details, and then like one of the things I did want to cover on this one was wedding expos. Um,
Hmm.
is a wedding expo? Do you think it's a good thing to attend if we have brides and grooms that are preparing themselves for upcoming weddings? Is it good for them to go to expos if they haven't hired the vendors or venues yet?
Um, I think it could be. I think that if the bride and groom are doing some homework prior to the expo, like the vendor that you're looking for, if it's a photographer, at least have good five good questions for the photographers that you might see there. If it's a cake designer, have at least five good questions. You know what I'm saying? Do a little bit of research before you go. If you don't have a chance to do that when you go there, make sure you ask questions. Um, and don't just go with the first person that you meet. Go through the entire expo and meet everybody. Take their cards, get their information, make little notes on what you discuss with each one of them. So when you come back to those notes, you can say, okay, well, this particular one, planner A, I like their so and so, so and so. Designer C, I like their so and so, so and so. It's just better for you if you do a little bit of research and spend some time just exploring all the options. And it's really, really good for people who've never ever even thought about a wedding and don't have an idea or a clue of where to start. Wedding expos can give you access to so many different types of vendors that you can actually kind of get a order of what you want or what you want to prioritize, be it the venue, your catering, your planner, your decor. You can kind of start working on that after you go through or as you're going through the expo. So I think they can be very what's the word I'm looking for? They can be very educational if you utilize it the right way.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that because I know I saw that they have this big expo coming up in Raleigh,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's good to go to those if you have no clue or no background or what you're looking for or your vision.
Hmm.
I think expos are really good to go to or attend because then they actually get a chance to, like I said, test the waters
Hmm.
before they start calling and hiring and putting down deposits and everything.
Yes.
So so the next question I guess is when it comes time to hire. I think I asked this question during the week. What's the first thing that you would recommend a customer lock in first before they do anything else?
The venue. You need to
Okay.
know, okay,
So,
you need to know where you're having this, and it needs to be based on a couple of different things. The theme of your event. And I don't mean something like necessarily doesn't have to be something as severe as a Beauty and the Beast theme. Like that's a theme. But I mean like theme is in like do you want something that's lighthearted? Do you want something that's a big family style something? Like think about how you want things set up for your reception and for your ceremony. And then once you kind of think about that and you start thinking about the number of people that you're wanting to invite or expect to have attend, then you need to start looking at your venues to figure out what's too big, what's going to be too small. Those are, those types of things first. After you get and I would say, look at five or more venues. Look around. Look them up on the internet. Research them. Look at their websites. They usually have a lot of pictures posted. Go through those pictures. Take a look at what their stuff looks like when it's all dressed up and when it's not so dolled up, so to see if it'll fit with what you want to see when you walk in your room.
And then also just to add to that, you definitely want to read the reviews,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of reviews, if it's a difference to where if you have one or two negative reviews versus if
Mm-hmm.
you have over 20 negative reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, if you see the same review over and over again, then most likely that means that venue has an issue with something, like if there's something like the AC or the heat is not working properly,
Oh
and you see
yeah.
that quite a few times, that can make or break an event, because God knows if it's too hot or too cold, it makes it very uncomfortable for the guests to stay, and they most likely
Mm-hmm.
won't stay long,
That's
and
correct.
because they won't enjoy themselves.
That is absolutely true.
So what? So Tish, what type of thing should a person take into consideration when they're looking for a planner? Like I noticed that there is a different there's a different level of pricing when it comes, just like how it is for DJs.
Mm-hmm.
Every DJ price is different. So when it comes to planners, what like, of course it's almost the same thing when it comes to DJs, but what makes the prices so different?
First would be the type of services, the amount of services that you're supplying. You can hire someone, what I call day of event coordination or management. Some people may say a day of coordinator. That usually somebody you get that comes in the day of to make sure that everything runs smoothly. That's one price bracket or price range. And then you've got a partial planner, someone that comes in and does some of the work with you, does maybe about half of the work with you along the way. Maybe you've already done some of the work yourself, so they come in and help you with the rest of the work. Then that's another price bracket. And then you've got a full service, event planner, which means that person is holding your hand from beginning to end. So they're helping you get your venue, helping you set up your venue tours, they're helping you meet with your potential vendors, taste testings for your sweet treats, for your cake, for your food. They're hands on with some of everything that's going on with the entire wedding. So their price break, because their amount of time, committed time to you and your event is much higher, their prices are going to be much higher for full service.
Right. And I think like the full service planner, normally what happens is you give them the budget and then they go out and do everything for you. All you do is show up technically for the wedding.
Technically.
And those then technically that type of service is a little bit more expensive than all the
Hmm.
rest. So when you do
It
a
is.
partial planning services, then that's where you still do some of the work. Like you go out and find your own vendors, your own venue, and then they kind of like are the communication piece between the customer and the vendors.
Hmm.
So and then the day of, I mean, that's that. I think that's what it is. All pretty much all the above will relieve stress.
Yes.
The day of the event, it will relieve a big amount of stress. But like I said, most of the time, in order for it to work, the customer has to have a clear vision of what they want. If you can't, it's just like if you can't communicate to your planner the vision that you want for your wedding day, it makes it extremely difficult for those individuals to come together and lay out your vision.
That's correct. But then you
So
also,
it's
I've run
always
into, go ahead, I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Something I ran into very recently was I had a client who had been working with a designer, planner slash designer, who basically was not listening to anything this client was asking her for. And basically that planner slash designer was terminated. The contract was terminated because she wasn't getting the person that she tried to hire was not going with what the actual bride wanted for her event. That can be a problem as well. So you got to make sure there's great communication between the planner and the clients, and great, they can talk back and forth and they can And I hate to say it like this, but it's almost like a vibe that needs to exist between the two of them to make sure that things run smoothly. If you don't have that, sometimes things can go left very
Right.
quickly.
And I think that's one of the biggest pieces that you have to, like I said, you have to have that strong communication. There can't
Mm-hmm.
be any barriers in place. And most of the time, what happens is some, and again, this is not all, but this is some are the ones that are developing. They're just getting started. They're developing, and they're limited on what they have or what they can do. So what they try to do is trying to
Mm-hmm.
get the customer to shape their vision into what they can do, and that's what causes most of
Mm-hmm.
the problems.
A lot
So
of them.
that's one of those things where, I mean, that's why I mean I know as just as a DJ, I know I spend so much time understanding the vision of the customer because God knows if I do something that goes against that vision, it causes more stress towards that couple, and it kind of irritates them because now what they're looking for is not going to come close to it.
That's correct. Very true.
So what happens when is it good to move forward with a customer where if you just cannot meet their needs?
I would say no. I would say
So
no.
a customer,
Um, I just if someone wants, I'm trying to think of something I don't know how to do. Um, if someone, well, I know how to do this, but I'm just gonna say, what if I didn't know how to do it? So ceiling draping. If a customer came to a designer or a planner and said, "Hey, I want to get ceiling draping," if it's a planner who does not do design work, then of course that planner can hire someone to come in to do that work.
right?
But if it's a planner slash designer decorator and they say they can do all these things, but yet you want ceiling draping, um, and they can't provide it, or you can't provide it as a, as a vendor, I honestly would tell the person that's not something I do. I would say I can either direct you to someone who does that very specific item, or I can hire someone in to, to do that. It would be a separate service or something like that. But I personally wouldn't want to take on that type of job that I don't know how to do.
And
Does that
that's
make sense?
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I want some people to understand there is a big difference from a wedding coordinator planner that
Mm-hmm.
has the skill set of a decorator
Mm-hmm.
versus a wedding planner coordinator, and that's all their job is just to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And what's going on in the industry, and this is one of the things again, I think it's across the board for all elements of the industry, is there's a big difference, and you have to understand that big difference because not every coordinator can decorate,
That's correct.
not
And
every
vice versa.
planner can do it, and again, not every decorator can coordinate. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like one of those things to where it, don't get me wrong, it's a plus if you're able to find someone who can do planning and decorations together, because keep in mind the price is not really going to change a lot, but it's just that you're dealing with one element versus two separate elements. And so a lot of people think that if they hire somebody that can do both, they're saving money, but in reality you're not
You're still
saving
paying about
money.
the same amount of money, to be honest,
Right,
because
you're
you
still
have to
paying
look at
money.
them as two separate services. Planning your party or wedding, we're going to focus on weddings, like, of course, but me planning your wedding is a cost. Um, Me designing and decorating your wedding is a cost. Those are two separate things. They're not actually merged into one. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Though, because I have two separate companies that do two separate things.
right.
You know what I mean? So Eight
Hmm.
Lilies does what it does, Young and Lovely does what it does. You can hire both if you choose to, but I leave that as an open option for clients, because I don't want, if you don't want, let's say you have a cousin who does, like me and we have you have a cousin that does decorating as well, right?
Right. Hmm.
So if you wanted to do something, you could hire me to do one part, you can hire her to do the other part. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
That would be
right.
the option. And because I want that to be an option with clients. I want them to feel like they're being forced, because and I'm a sidebar for a second, because sometimes these venues and their rules and who they're telling they can bring in and who they can't bring in are getting outrageous. That's my sidebar moment.
Yeah,
We'll talk about that one
we're
later.
gonna talk about that. Yeah, we're
Money.
gonna talk about that because that's
Oof.
gonna go.
So
That's gonna
I
tie
don't
into
like
the
to try to
cost.
regulate folks' money like that. I
Right,
feel like if you're going to spend it with me, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. I'm okay with that.
because
But you
like
got to
most
remember
times,
that those are two separate services at all
right.
times.
And I think that's what people have to understand is that when you're going out and you're looking for, and this is one of the things I'm starting to there's a pattern now is there a lot of people think that the most common thing is the wedding planner coordinator is supposed to be the decorator, and that's
Mm,
not the case. But even though that's a major trend that's going on in our area,
mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean it's the standard. And so
No.
I let people understand that when you hire an actual wedding planner coordinator, people need to understand there's certain things you can define the skill set of a planner, and most of the time you can see it within the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
those are things that you need to pay close attention to. Most of the time, a person that's just beginning their contract in some cases might be just one page. I've sat back and watched this, and I think we talked about contracts last week.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the contract kind of spells out the details and duties of what
Mm-hmm.
the planner can do, and so when you read their contract and it lists something that if it doesn't list anything that you're expecting them to do, then that's a conversation that needs to be had.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, most professional planners will have the full rundown of everything that they are capable of doing or will
Mm-hmm.
do for your event. If you go through it and you don't see those details, don't my thing is I always tell people never make an assumption. So
That's
like
correct.
when like so for your contract for planning, um what type of things change the price for the planning side of things? Is it pretty much the standard? It's a standard price. What the only thing? What affects the price? Is it the like I know some things it could be the distance, it could be location, but what other things could affect the cost for event planner?
Um, Time frame is a big thing. If you're a last minute person, that requires a whole lot of rush on my end or on the planner's end. That can affect your pricing. um Duties, if the standard duty is okay, I help you find your venues and your vendors, I schedule your meetings, but let's say you want us to do your invitations, so that's a design fee for the invitations, that's a printing cost for the invitations, then you have there's time that putting the invitations together, the postage for the invitation, like those kind of things can add on to your cost. But those
Right,
are some things that a lot of times planners actually will do or will add into their base contract, that they will help you out with invitations, because a lot of times brides and grooms, they don't know how to do all that stuff, putting it together. They know what they like and they don't know what they don't like.
right.
You know what I mean? So sometimes end up doing those types of things that can add to your cost. Of course, travel. If I'm going to be more than 30 miles outside of my office, then that's a travel fee. That can also entail if I'm going from here to, let's say, Richmond, Virginia for a wedding. That's overnight accommodations can go into that as well. So there's different things that come up along the way.
And so like one of the things that people need to take in consideration is when you hire a planner or event coordinator, you have to understand the location piece because that is I think that's across the board for all vendors is you gotta have to pay that travel fee.
That's correct.
And most of the time I think like I haven't checked the IRS rate now, but I think it was 56 cents a mile. And then like in some cases, some planners and event coordinators charge per diem.
That's
Um,
correct.
so those are things, and again, if they have a team, you're paying per diem for that team, because most of the time, depends on how big the wedding is how that bases on the team. So that kind of like goes into like if you have a large wedding, that means you have to have a large team,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that I try to explain to people that the bigger the wedding, the more the cost.
You need at least
Okay.
one assistant per 50 people. And
Okay.
I know that sounds crazy, but listen, when people are coming into the wedding, that's pretty much a streamline kind of thing. We kind of streamline that. It's the reception. that really gives us
Right.
the most labor intensive stuff. We're going to sometimes the catering company may not have servers, so my team ends
Right.
up serving elderly at the reception. Sometimes there are those that need help getting here and there. It's just really, I try to base it on every 50 people we need another person. I need another one
Right.
of my team members. Now we could probably go 75 per one, but I try to keep it at 50, one per 50.
And then like how much does it like for assistant? What's the normal rate for an assistant? Like if you have to add assistants, let's say if you have to
$25 an hour.
25, and that kind of that can that's what I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to tell someone between most cases it's going to be anywhere between 15 to $25 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
based on the type of I should say the level of where that company is at in their planning. Because I've most companies that are well established, they're charging $25 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's not, I'm charging you and paying them 10. That's literally what we're paying the
right.
assistants for the day. I mean, per hour for the day.
You don't make a profit off of them. They just pretty much that's what they're just it's automatically like you're paying them per for being there.
That's correct.
Okay. Now to flip the script, so like planning is only but so many things that can cause effect to change, like changing the price. But when it comes to decorating is primarily based on the vision and amount of people. Why is that?
Well, you got to think about it. If you're throwing a reception for 80 people, I'm just going to use that number 80. That's 10 tables. If the tables seat 8 people per table, and that's not even including your bridal party. This is just your guest count. So
Right,
that's 80 people. That's 10 tables. That's 10 tablecloths, overlays or runners, chargers, napkins, napkin rings, glasses, be it the water goblets, champagne toasting flutes, wine glasses, um, centerpieces, that's 10 centerpieces, chair covers, bands or sashes. All of those things add up, and it's based on your people, because whatever I charge for 80 people is definitely not the same thing I charge for 200 people.
right.
Because 200 people, we're talking 25 tables,
Which that means more things that have to
way
be
more.
done. And that's
And then it
more
also means
labor.
more staff that has to
Right.
be there to help to actually get everything set up.
So like a common like a full route, let's say if someone wanted the full works on one table cost can go anywhere between technically what between 100 to 175 per table.
I would say more along the lines of 100 to maybe $325 per table, because some people want these huge
Okay.
centerpieces. You know what I'm saying? So to
Right.
give you I know it's a broad range, and I apologize for that, but it really depends on the taste of the clients and what their vision really is for their event. But centerpieces can get very pricey.
Right. So if someone was just trying to do something basic,
I wouldn't say basic. I'd say more simple.
right. Simple, but yeah. If it's
Something more
more on
simple.
on that course line, kind of like they need to prepare for, like I would say if they're doing 100 people, a budget of 3,000 is kind of like a starting number.
Yes, it would be a very good starting number.
3,000 would be a good starting number for a budget for decor for 100 people. And
Hmm.
then from there, if they have different types of if they say if their vision is a little bit more detailed, then I guess it would cost a little bit more money than that.
And it also depends on what type of not only the centerpieces, but let's say the fabric for the tables, the tablecloths. There are some, like, you can do basic, and I'm using the word basic this time, but basic polyester tablecloths, which is fine. But then some people may want rosette, some people may want sequins, some people may want uh pinch taffeta. It just kind of depends. So that the type of just the base tablecloth can go from a very basic price up through the roof. It really just kind of depends on that client and their taste. So
And the type
all
of
the
tablecloths that you
components
can.
on the table affect your price.
And
Huh?
my thing is, I was gonna say is, just because like, and this is one of the biggest things. If a person decides to go out and purchase all the, and this is this is one of the biggest things that a lot of clients make a mistake at is when they go out and they purchase their own decor. Is that an easy way of doing things, or is that a difficult? What? Explain to me, how do you deal with a situation where a customer wants to go out and purchase their own stuff?
Well, it's kind of hard to tell people how to spend their money, but my always question is, what are you gonna do with it afterwards? Not everybody goes onto these different sites and buys the secondhand or what they consider secondhand stuff. And a lot of times people want the money they spent. If I spent $50 on this one centerpiece item, I want my $50 back. That's not how it's going to work. So I
Well,
think
I'm
that's
saying like
important.
as far as like a company's name, let's say for example, they go to one of these like let's say they go on Amazon and they
Mm-hmm.
buy these real cheap tablecloths. Um,
That you can see through as soon as light hits them. Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about using those? Because doesn't that reflect your company's
It
reputation?
does. And I don't like it. I will, and I usually, if people have told me they've purchased stuff, I try to sit down and meet with them so I can see the items face to face.
Right.
And I'll make recommendations on what they can possibly do with them. Um, uh, there have been times I've actually pulled out my own tablecloths to go up underneath them to block the light, because these tablecloths they're cheap in price and they're cheap in quality.
But
And
do you
the
charge
problem
them
with
extra?
it,
But do you
huh?
charge them extra because you're using your material to make up for
Um,
their shortfalls for the material that they purchase?
that is what we're supposed to do. I'll be honest, there have been times I have not charged somebody for it because honestly, my name, the name of my company, our reputation, the quality of the stuff that we bring makes I guess it's a bigger thing for me, because if somebody posts that picture and they tag Young and Lovely and you can see straight through that tablecloth, they're gonna think Young and Lovely got cheap tablecloth.
Right.
So if I put something underneath it so it doesn't, say bleed through, so to speak, with the light, and somebody posts a picture, I have a better chance of it not reflecting bad back on us,
And so the other
which
question
actually makes my work harder and doubles my work, but that's just the truth of it.
is just so I get people can get understanding as like what they see on Amazon and where like the company you get your equipment from is a different quality. And
Very
a
much
lot of
so.
people don't understand that because on Amazon the pictures make it look like it's the perfect thing, but when you time to use it, it doesn't turn out to be as perfect. And so what people will what I've learned over the years is a customer will compare prices of what they want, and those prices do not reflect what's actually going to be used. How do you kind of discuss that with a customer so they understand it? Because like let's say for a customer comes up, and I know there's tablecloths out there that rent for anywhere between $15 to $25 per tablecloth,
Mhm.
and then they go online and see the tablecloth is worth the same price that they rented. How do you justify your pricing?
Well, basically, when you order that tablecloth and you get it in, you have to double check it, because sometimes a lot of some stuff can come in with stains already on it. Believe it or not, I've seen it happen a few times. We have to prep that linen. 9 times out of 10, we usually wash them first. Then they have to be pressed. And trust me, Mari and I both know it takes over an hour to press a certain
Hmm.
size tablecloth,
Yes, it does.
just in itself. And if you don't press them and you do wash them, you take them to the laundromat, or a dry cleaners that will actually press them. The dry cleaners are charging us an arm and leg for that,
Right.
literally, to actually press them and get them nice and neat for that. Then you're talking about the labor putting them on the tables, my team members that are putting them on the tables and dressing the tables. Then they got to come back off, and guess what? That process will start all over again. Laundry, being pressed and prepped and all that. It's a process.
So
The
pretty
clients
much,
aren't going to do all that. They
and
go
it's
over the
pretty much
package and throw it on the table,
the
and
process
it's
is
going to
like
have.
it's kind of like you're getting a better product because it's being properly prepared
That's
versus if you
correct.
go to the store and just purchase it and just throw it on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what could a customer do to find the right decorator? What type of thing? Because right now, there is no regulation to say hey or nay on an actual decorator. Technically,
Mm-hmm.
anyone can just decide to go buy some tablecloths, chair covers, and call themselves a decorator. So what like what's kind of like what can a customer do to check the reputation of a decorator? Because then the key thing, and the reason why I say that is because decorators are very non let me see, they're kind of like non marketing. They're not in the marketing of advertising themselves. Most of the time are more reserved. So there you can't go do any reviews, you can't check their reviews. You can't do, because a lot of them are not out there on social media, or they don't have the proper marketing to establishments for a customer to go and review their work. So what can be done for a customer to, what type of homework should a customer do before they hire a decorator?
Ask for references, ask for examples of their previous work, and not just a picture. Let me tell you something. You can go on the internet and snatch any picture you want to snatch. Okay.
Right.
What you want to do is you want to see an actual event that they've done, meaning in 8 to 10 pictures, you can see that's the exact same event. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
One thing I have a bad habit of not doing, which I should probably do better at, is that I don't take a lot of pictures with me in the actual setup. And but I think that most planners, most decorators really should probably do that to show that that is their event. Get somebody to take a picture of you with your event behind you, so that people know that it's actually your event. But check behind them. Ask for photos, and I mean like complete event photos. Definitely reach out to them about possible references. I mean, I guess anybody could say, well, oh, this is my best friend so and so, so write this reference for me or whatever, or tell this person this right here. But if you can see the work itself, and also ask them about venues that they worked in, because venues will tell you about the decorators. Believe it or not, if you ask someone in the venue, hey, I was looking at hiring XYZ company to decorate my wedding. What, I see that they're on your list. What did you guys think of them? Or I see that I've seen a few pictures that they have done some events here at your venue. What did you think of their work here? Like, do some research. Don't just go, and let me say this. I don't want to be mean when I say this, but don't get starry eyed because somebody can talk a good game, honestly, and you just jumping out there to jump on it. No, give it a second, do a little bit of research, and you might come out with a better situation.
Right.
Make sense?
So and so like and I always say this, people have to understand there's a different level of decor
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing a church event
Mm.
versus a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the most common issues I've seen in 10 years, is just because a person can coordinate a church event doesn't mean they can sit back and, now don't get me wrong, sometimes they can, but it doesn't mean they can coordinate a wedding. Now
But
again,
not but the
like,
thing is that people automatically think because they can do that, they can do this. Don't assume. You just made
right,
that statement earlier. Don't make assumptions.
right. Never make assumptions on it.
Yeah,
And that's the fact
ask.
that, and that's the most common, that is always the most common issues that we see across the board, is just because they can do it in one setting doesn't mean they can do it in another setting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it. If it's a simple, so like I said, we're going to use the word simple versus basic. If it's a simple setup, then it's not an issue. But when it becomes complicated, like for example, what do you do when you have someone, let's say they come in and they want a Beauty and the Beast wedding theme, or a Star Wars wedding theme, or
Oh
some
Lord.
of the stuff that's a little extreme. I call them more non-traditional type weddings.
Mm-hmm.
What type of like that decor? If they have to, if you have to go out and purchase something, is it going to cost the customer more money?
That would depend on what it is. Like, okay, for instance, in our package, place settings is included. So even if you do a Beauty and the Beast, and we're gonna pretend like I don't have those 2 boxes of all that stuff, but when I first did a Beauty and the Beast type event, I literally went to different little stores all over 3 cities, I think it was, to accumulate place settings, which was the dinner plate, the dessert plate, all that stuff, trying to get everything together so I could have these different really pretty place settings. Well, people clients are not going to know that that's what I'm running around to do, or that's what I had to do. So they're not going to understand the gas that I had to spend, the time I had to spend, things of that nature. But if I don't normally include place settings, then yeah, there would be an extra charge for rental. You can't charge somebody if the place settings cost me, I don't know, $5 a place setting, and they're doing a wedding for 100 people. I can't technically. I guess you can, but technically, you're really not supposed to charge them what it costs you to buy the stuff. You're supposed to charge them what it costs to rent it from you. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. So I think what happens a lot of times is those that don't have the equipment, um, or the correct inventory, they would charge the customer the full price of the item. Well, if you're going to charge them full price, give it to them.
Right.
Now, if it's something like you're wanting me to pipe and drape an entire venue, that's not in my normal package. So that's going to cost you more money. But
Right.
not because I got to go out and buy it. It's because I've got to bring in a team to set it up
Right.
for a whole building. It could be 200 plus feet.
That's why it's kind of important that if they find the right venue, that means in most cases if it matches their vision,
That's
that's less
right.
money that they had to spend on decor or spending like they don't have to do pipe and drape. And that most time, and I always say this is that when a person finds a building, if you have to pipe and drape that venue, in most cases you chose the wrong venue.
Or they looked at the price of the building versus the price of the one that they really wanted, or what really fit
Right.
their idea, and not realizing that because you didn't pick the right place, you're actually going to end up spending that amount of money, if not more, because now you're having a pipe dream. Like, I have a quote I just did for um 200 240 feet or 220 feet of pipe and drape. I think it was, no, 320 feet. It was going to run over $3,000, $4,000 for the
Mm.
piping and drape. Seriously, because
Just
of
to,
just the pipe and drape a venue.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And it can be very pricey. That's pretty much one of my regular package prices. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
because they chose a venue that had a cheaper price tag from the start, not looking at the long term, or how you're going to end up spending that money in the long run anyway, they could have came out much cheaper just getting the right venue from the beginning.
And I think that's the biggest piece is like if you're concerned about the price of the venue, then you need to understand that when you go with a lower cost venue, understand the work, how much money you're going to spend on the decor side. And I think that's the biggest piece
Hmm.
is like, that's why I would tell most of my clients go with a venue that has plain walls. They don't have a lot of stuff on the walls. That the building is more plain because then it's a little bit, it doesn't spend a lot more money versus you go to like a VFW, for example, or some of
Hmm.
these places where are like a Shriney type club where they have stuff hanging all on the walls and you
Hmm.
don't want their trophies or their things to be seen. So now you have to spend all this money on pipe and drape to hide it.
And though
Um,
you paid a lesser price for the place, you still end up spending the same money, if not more, because you're having to do more stuff. Are we allowed to say the name of a couple of venues if we're
yeah,
saying
sure.
something positive? Okay. So I was thinking when you were talking about venues that you don't have to do a lot to,
Okay.
right? There was an when we did the Sweet 16 back in December in New York, when we were talking about, when Rose and I were talking about the venue, she was saying the place is so beautiful that you don't have to do much to it. And she was absolutely right. We didn't have to do much to it. And then there's a place in a name's place in North Carolina. In the Fayetteville area, there's Catlett Farm.
Right.
That it has its own style. You know what I'm saying? But the
Uh-huh.
venue is so adorable. There's not that much you have to do to it. You know what I'm
Like for,
saying?
like for Sky Villa is
Yeah,
another
like with
one.
Skya Villa.
For Sky Villa, Skyview, um,
They have their own look, but their
right,
look are so nice that you don't have to do a whole lot to them.
right,
Mainly
and
your
most,
tables and chairs. You
and I
got to
would
adjust
say that,
the wall.
I mean, most of the time, and I'll say this is that most venues that are designed for wedding, like you said, you have we see you have the Intrigue, You have the Carolina
Mm-hmm.
Barns.
And
You
Intrigue
have
is a really good one.
right.
You
You
got
have
two different buildings there. You know what I'm
right
saying?
because and then the thing is the way things are designed, there it's empty. So it's like it's more of a they don't have a lot of extra stuff that you have to hide. So like of
Mm-hmm.
course the cost of those facilities are anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000, but it's
Mm-hmm.
or in some cases 4,000 because Carolina Barnes, of course, is a little more expensive. But if you go
Mm-hmm.
to those type of places, you look even Studio 215.
Mm-hmm.
There's a special look. So like when you go to these venues, it fits your vision, so you don't have to spend a lot of money on decor.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have to go to places like the Hope Mill Shrine, now the Hope Mill Shrine is a good location because of how many people it can hold, and it has a
Yeah.
like it has a full blown kitchen.
And a
Um,
huge parking area.
right, a whole private parking area. But
Mm-hmm.
because of all the things on the walls, some I've seen in the past, some customers don't want that to be their backdrop of their event or their wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people pipe and drape those things, which again becomes very pricey. And I think that's where you have to find your balance in
Mm-hmm.
between them. And then like let's the biggest factor, which I was going to say this one for last because we're going to talk about the interaction with the venue is time. For a coordinator slash decorator, even for for more so for the decorator, it's critical that you establish your vision, hire your decorator in advance, at least 6 months or early, or 6 months or more, 6 months to 12 months in advance, because you want to give them time to make sure that they have all the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get within 6 months, is that kind of like the red zone for a decorator?
It could
What's the red?
depend.
What's the
Three
red zone
months
like?
or
What's the
less
red
is
zone?
scary.
Say
My
again.
red zone is 3 months or less. That's a scary zone for me
Okay.
because um limitations can come up. Like if they want the throne chairs or they want one of our specialty tables, they may have already been rented out. Even if it's an event I'm not actually doing, it may my rental equipment may already be promised somewhere else. Um, so to me, 3 months or less is scary. 6 months is a little bit more more wiggle room for me. 6 months or more is great. But the thing is that you're looking at um, floor if you need flowers, ordering those things in if they're live flowers, getting if they're in season at the time of year that your event is taking place. There's so many different little aspects that go to putting it together, and it really depends on that person's vision for their event. um, because it can get scary. It can get scary for us.
Right.
We'll never let you see a sweat, so to speak, but it can get scary for us, and we can get a little panicked on our end, like, oh my God, am I gonna be able to make this work? You know what I'm saying? But and I to this day I tell people all the time, I still get nervous the week of an event. I'm still nervous. And I've been doing this for almost 25 years. I still get nervous. I'm double checking myself, triple checking.
Right.
Do I have this? Do I have that? Is this a place? And that, like, I'm literally that person.
Well, you want to say my thing is one of the things I always tell my clients is I prefer to be uncomfortable versus comfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, you won't make a mistake to a
Mm-hmm.
degree. When you're comfortable, that's when you start to overlook things
You
and you
will
start making
flub.
mistakes. Right.
You will flub.
And that's one of the things you just said that's I want people to understand is that a decorator and a florist are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about that, um, please explain to them why a decorator and a florist are two different things.
Okay, so most decorators do the stuff. I'm sorry, y'all. My phones are going crazy right now. Most decorators will do like your rentals, your table linens, your chair covers. They'll come up with a concept for different things. They'll pipe and drape your room. They'll provide you with certain rental items like throne chairs, love seats, or custom tables, things of that nature. Um, but not all decorators work with flowers. Some of them know how to do them, some of them don't. And a florist literally is exactly what it sounds like. That is someone who can build you floral pieces, meaning your body flowers, your boutonnieres. That would be your bouquets and boutonnieres and corsages. Someone who can actually build your centerpieces. Someone who can do, let's say you want to do one of those really nice circle backdrops, or even a pipe and drape backdrop, and you want flowers on it. A florist can provide you with those types of decor items. Not every decorator can do that. Like I don't own a floral shop, but I do know where I can purchase wholesale flowers, and I do know how to put them together. But that's not everybody's thing, and there's certain things that I may not do the way an actual florist would do. And you are going to pay for their services because you're paying. Here's the thing: price comes in play with a lot of people, and the first thing they want to go is, "Well, I don't have to. Why do I have to pay that much?" You're not paying. It's just one day. It's all this other stuff. Listen, you're paying for the services for that day, yes, but you're paying for their experience, their knowledge, their education, their history, their work, their labor. It's a lot of stuff that you're paying for that day because their work didn't start the morning of your event. Their
Right.
work started way before your event, and I think people fail to understand that the average wedding. I'm going to say this: the average wedding planner can put 75 to 100 hours minimum in on a wedding. And if you're only paying them $3,000, it's not a lot of money. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? But they look at just the bulk. They don't look at the bigger picture. You know what? Like right now, I'm really, really close to the thing. But you got to look at the bigger picture of things. And I think that's where the price thing comes into play so much. And it becomes like almost like a tug of war,
Right.
and I say this all the time. When you go to these restaurants, you're not arguing them down about their prices. When you go to buy your car, they might have a sale going on. That'd be great. But the manufacturers stated what they want for their car when you
Right.
go in there to buy it. So when you come to us for our services, must we always have to negotiate
Well, I
and
think the
fight?
biggest, I think what the misleading portion of it is, if they, and this is one of those things that I kind of like. Sometimes social media can be it can be the downfall of why cost is the way it is, or why people think the cost is less. Is they'll
Hmm.
go and look at something and think that, oh, okay, wow. Like for example, like in most cases now, most Dollar Trees,
Oh, stop it!
I'm just
Stop
gonna say
it!
it.
I'm about to get up and walk away right now.
Right, because what most what where, and this is where the mishap happens at, is you walk into a Dollar Tree. Most Dollar Trees, like say here, the one on Bragg Boulevard is the perfect one to explain because it has a section dedicated just for weddings and events. And what a person will do is they'll see these items in the Dollar Tree and then wonder why they are being charged more, but it's not the same items. And I think that's where most people who don't understand that the decor industry don't understand that that cost is more than $1.25. So, like for example, I was telling someone before, okay, you go look at a charger. A charger from Dollar Tree will cost you $1.25
Hmm.
per charger. But if you go and you get a charger that won't break, that's a little bit more stronger, more sturdier, and has a more better look to it, you're going to charge. It's like the charger costs maybe $2.99 to $3.
Hmm.
So a lot of people have to understand there's a difference. It's just like you can, like for example, you can buy a pair of jeans one place and then go somewhere else. The jeans are more expensive because of the quality of how it's designed, how it's made. So a lot of people, it's a misinterpretation because they might see something one place, but yet they don't understand where the inventory that you like. If you're a professional decorator, your inventory is going to come from a different place, and it's not going to be the Dollar Tree.
Hmm.
So you do have some decorators that will purchase stuff from the Dollar Tree based on the customer's budget, but there's a big difference on those two. And I think that's where the
Very much.
misinterpretation comes in on the pricing, is because just because you see it at the Dollar Tree doesn't mean that the cost, the actual service, or the rental should be cheaper.
Here's the thing: you can buy the Dollar Tree chargers. As a decorator, you can buy the Dollar Tree chargers, but then and rent them to whomever for 50 cents, a dollar, whatever. But at the end of the day, customers need to understand that when those charges are taken off the table, we have to literally um, wash them. You know, they have to be stored, they have to be packed up, cleaned off at the venue. If we can't wash them at the venue, then of course, because time restraints or whatever, then we got to leave there, get them back to whatever storage place we have them, be it the garage or a storage facility or a storefront. They have to be washed and prepped and dried and all this stuff ready for the next time they have to be rented out. Like it's more to it than just, oh, it was $1. No, in my mind, I think about all the other parts that go along with it. Do you know how heavy 45 charges are in a tote?
Extremely heavy. Yes.
Okay. Do you know that I have to
Extremely
lift
heavy.
sometimes I have to lift those things? Because
And
maybe my guys are doing other stuff. You know how
right.
heavy those paper drape poles can be?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this what?
It's the labor that a lot of people don't understand that goes on behind
Yes,
it.
it's
Not
a
just the
lot.
item, but the labor that goes behind it.
It
And
is a lot. And
and one
trust
of
me,
the
my
things,
back is starting to tell me it's a lot. I'm just saying
yeah,
it's a lot.
that the abuse on your body, you start to feel it.
Oh my God. But
So let's
but people complain so quickly
right,
without looking at the bigger picture.
right. So like
That's the
for
part that
example,
worries me.
and I think that's one of the things I wanted to highlight when I was talking about the floors. The people have to understand that when you go with live flowers, it's going to cost you more money.
No, not necessarily. Seriously, not
Really?
necessarily. Really. Think about this. I'm gonna give you an example. If you go into Hobby Lobby today, so I don't think they're having a flower sale this week. Go into Hobby Lobby today and pick up a hydrangea stem. If anybody knows what hydrangea is, it's a really nice fat head flower. Pick up a hydrangea stem. The cheap looking ones are about $4.99 a stem. The really nice high quality ones run up between $8.99 and $14 to $15 per stem. But I can go purchase live ones for less than $3 a stem.
Okay. Well,
It just depends on the type
let
of
me
flower.
let me retract. It's easier to deal with non-live
There
flowers.
you go.
Okay, that's what
Hmm.
technically when I said cost, I was really talking about. You still have to like, for example,
Time.
you have to spend a lot more time
Hmm.
organizing when to put them out versus
Hmm.
when you're dealing with flowers that are not real. You can
Hmm.
just put them out any given time.
Hmm.
Where like I had one wedding where they put all the live flowers and almost all of them were dead before the wedding can start, and it was because the venue had air problems, so it was hot and
Mm.
the flowers didn't make it. So it's kind of like
Heat
one
will
of
kill some live ones in a
right.
heartbeat.
Which brings me to my last thing that we're going to discuss is the venue.
Hmm.
How critical is it to get a venue that meets all requirements for a decorator?
And when you say meets all requirements for a decorator,
Time.
our biggest enemy is time. Um, to be honest with you, when you're setting up an event, um, venues can be so. Let me see how to say this nice way. No, venues can be money hungry. They can nickel and dime you to death. They'll only give you X amount of hours. Oh, well, if you need extra time, it's this amount of money per hour.
Right.
And there are some that are totally vendor friendly. There's in particular, I can name Catlett Farm again because let us get in on Friday, start our setup on Friday, and finish our setup Saturday morning. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just to use them as an example. There are some venues out there that will allow you to do that because they understand that these designs take time. Every single bride and groom does not want the same exact wedding. That's going to take me exactly 2 hours and 47 minutes to set up.
Right. And,
Every single client is not the same. So when venues recognize that every person is different and they allow for more time for your vendors to get in and do the decor, like I hate it if a client's paid for certain decor and then I can't get it done because we're restrained by time. The venue ain't got to worry about that. I do.
right.
Or any other decorator. We have to worry about that if things are not done and there can be as much prep work as possible and you still might run into a hiccup.
Right.
or two that day, and something may not get done. But the client is not looking at the venue saying, well, you didn't give them enough time. They're looking at you, us, saying, well, why not get this?
So what would be your recommendation? Like, cause like one thing is, I tell my customers all the time, when you get a venue and if it's a wedding, it's better to go with the package deal versus the hourly rate.
That's
Um,
correct.
because the package deal normally accommodates all the time that we need to set up for a wedding. Um, what other things if like let's say if you come across a venue that does an hourly rate, what would be the recommended time that you would? I mean, just for a simple wedding setup, what would be the bare minimum time that's required for a setup for someone who's doing decorations for 100 people?
Our requirement is 4 hours minimum.
Okay.
That's our requirement. I mean, some people can maybe do it a little bit differently, but for something like that, I require at least 4 hours. And because you got to think about it, I was just talking to one of my planner friends last night, Tavi. I hope she's watching this. We were talking about how we could take 30 to 45 minutes just to unload,
Right. Right.
let alone getting in the building. So if you tell me I can't get into 10 o'clock, I might need to be there at 9:15 or 9 o'clock just to unload. So now, mind you, that's double the work. We're putting our hands on it twice.
Right.
You get it off the trailer or off the truck and get it in front of the door, waiting on you to get there. Then we got to take it inside the building. But again, when venues put restraints on us or shackle us that way, then we're kind of like forced to just try to come with any concept we can to get everything done in that time frame that we're given, and that's all we have to work with.
And now for setup time, it might take 4, but for breakdown time, how many hours would it take?
Maybe two,
Okay, so
but
that's
that would be all your vendors.
right,
'Cause that 4 hour span allows your caterer to set up, your DJ to
right,
set up, your videographers. That 4 hours covers everybody.
and that's why I always recommend the bare minimum that you get a 10-hour package,
Mm-hmm.
because a 10-hour package normally would cover a simple setup,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're trying to do something a little more, I guess a little bit more outside the
Elaborate.
ordinary,
Mm-hmm.
then you really are going to really face a time crunch. And I think that's where time management comes into place. With a lot of venues that recognize this, they automatically understand and they'll work with vendors.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just one of the biggest pieces. So for a
But it's
venue,
also hard to get venues that will actually that actually understand what we're doing and respect the integrity of the clients.
but oh, you're breaking up. Oh, right here at the end. Hello, Tish. If you're still there, check your settings. While waiting on Tish to jump back in, what the biggest piece that we're discussing right now is that the time needed, and it's important that you do get a venue that at least right gives the decorator enough time. So when you hire the venue, you really want to get that decor. You really want to talk to your decorator, make sure that he or she has enough time to set up everything. Are you back with us, Tish? There we go. You came back in. Yeah, dropped off for a quick second. Uh-oh. There you go. Oh, your microphone's muted.
My bad. Sorry, it keeps dropping.
Okay. Now we're almost done. Um,
My bad.
so I was just covering down for what we were just discussing. So overall, we just kind of like discover what we just kind of covered in detail was the breakdown on what causes the price to change for decorators, excuse me, wedding coordinators and decorators. And so Tish, she's pretty much she's an expert in both levels. Um, so she pretty much does. She was able to speak in detail in reference to the cost effective piece of why things cost as much. And then and this one last thing before we get out of here is in a situation where your time gets cut in half, if you have to do 2 hours or more, like say if the customer doesn't give you the time, then of course the cost for the door decoration is going to go up because you have to hire more people to
That's
come and do
correct.
it in a shorter period.
That's
And that's
correct.
just what people to understand is that you're going to pay the cost one way or the other. So if you don't pay for the extra time, then you're going to pay for the labor to do it within that short period of time. So
Yep,
Tish,
that's very very true. Because what might have been a 6-person setup might turn into a 12-person setup because I don't have enough time.
right? All
And
right,
that's like
so
a $25 an hour thing.
exactly that's where you have to pay a lot more money out for labor, and that's I try to get people to understand is time having the appropriate time will save you money, in the
Hmm.
long run because like you think about it, you pay that $100, $200 for the extra 1 or 2 hours versus you have to hire six more people. That's $150. So and then that's only like that's 150 times two. That's like $300 more you have to spend on laborers if it's only four people. But if you have to spend more money out there on six people, that's $150 per person, or I should say
Hmm.
$150 per hour. So you're
For
still
six
going to pay
people.
that money one way or the other.
Yep.
So it's better
That's
to do it the right way than have to do it to where it requires a lot more people. All right. Well, Tish, you have any other thing you want to say before we get out of here?
no. Well, actually, yeah. Everyone that's out there that is planning a wedding, working on a wedding, looking to put together their wedding, listen, take a deep breath, do some research, check these venues out before you book with them. Read your contracts. I'm gonna say that at the end of every time I'm on the show. Read your contracts. Make sure you understand the parameters of what you're signing before you sign it. That
Yeah.
way you know exactly what you're getting and then know exactly what you're expecting from them. Okay? But that's it. Everybody have a great Friday.
And my last thing is I always say never make any assumptions. Always ask questions. I don't care how simple the question may seem. Always ask your vendors, your venue questions because you will solve most of your problems by asking questions versus making assumptions.
There you go.
All right. Well, look, y'all, ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Enjoy your weekend. It's Friday. It's party time. So, hey, we'll see y'all next time. And then, like I said, we'll come back and we'll kind of highlight some more things. I know with Tisha, we're going to try to work it out to where myself, Tisha, and then we have another person, Leah Smith, that we're trying to get to where we put out information about the planning side and the core side of things, and then also get some insights in reference to some other things that go on when you're prepping things for events and weddings.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so y'all take it easy, enjoy y'all weekend, and we'll see y'all later. For those that are tuning
All
in
right,
later
everybody.
on, we do have our DJ show tonight at 6 o'clock. So for those coming back to see what's going on the DJ side, we'll see y'all at 6 tonight. Peace. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.